you to take a look at our PowerPoint today. And what do you think we'll be learning about today based off of this picture?
The food chain.
The food chain, very good. And more specifically, we'll be talking about the flow of energy through an ecosystem that goes through a food chain. Because just like the frog eats the grasshopper in this food chain, it gets its energy by eating the grasshoppers. Just like the hawk gets its energy by eating all the snakes. What do you think would happen if we removed the snakes from this ecosystem?
The hawk wouldn't have anything to eat.
Very good. The hawk wouldn't have anything to eat, and there would be a lot of frogs in this ecosystem. All right, let's read our LO together.
I will be able to identify the flow of energy in a food chain and predict what would happen in an ecosystem if we remove a plant or animal.
Very good. So that's what we're going to work on today. We're going to talk about the flow of energy in a food chain and the different characters that are in a food chain, that make up a food chain, and what might happen if we take one of those organisms out of the food chain. All right, how would we fit in this food chain? Let's keep that in mind throughout the lesson. All right, so here we have a food chain of how humans would fit into the food chain. Let's take a look at our vocabulary words today. We have producers, and producers make their own food. Producers would be plants or grass. Can you use your whiteboard and think of a producer? Another producer? Producers make their own food. Very good. A cactus is a plant. A cactus is a producer and it makes its own food. So now we know that producers are all plants and they make their own food. Next, we have our consumers. There are three types of consumers. We have herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. The herbivores, they only eat plants. All right? The carnivores, they only eat meat. And the omnivores eat both plants and meat. All right? So let's look at our herbivores. Our herbivores are the organisms or the animals that eat only plants. So it would be an organism like an animal like a deer. A deer only eats grass. Or a bunny. Bunnies eat plants and grass. Or a zebra. Zebras, they only eat grass. They don't eat meat. Can you think of another herbivore?
A sheep.
A sheep, good, very good. All right, let's talk about our carnivores, our next type of consumer. Our carnivores only eat meat. All right, so these organisms would be animals like a wolf. The wolf eats meat to survive, so that's where he goes and gets his energy from, meat. Snakes are carnivores. All right, can you think of another carnivore?
A lion.
A lion, very good. A lion would be another carnivore. Lion eats only meat. All right. And our omnivores eat both plants and animals. All right. Remember when I told you to remember how humans might fit into the food chain? What do you think? Where do you think humans fit? What type of consumer are they?
We are omnivores.
We are omnivores because omnivores eat both plants and animals and meat. All right? All of the energy in the ecosystem, all of the food chain starts with the sun. It starts with the sun, and our producers get the energy that they need from the sun. All right? So, we've talked a little bit about our producers and our consumers. So let's go on to our PowerPoint and see different pictures of our producers. All right? So here we have moss is a producer, bushes, trees, grass. Can you write on your whiteboard another type of producer? Wheat, very good. Wheat is another type of producer. They make their own food. All right, let's talk about our consumers, our herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. All right, our herbivores, they only eat plants, remember? So plants, animals that only eat plants would be a horse or a zebra. Can you think of another consumer that only eats plants? Write it on your whiteboard. Very good. A deer is a herbivore. A deer only eats plants. All right, next is our carnivores. Carnivores are the consumers that only eat meat. They only eat meat. So a consumer or a carnivore would be a wolf that only eats meat. All right? So can you write on your whiteboard and think of another animal that only eats meat? Very good. A lion is what type of consumer?
A carnivore.
A carnivore, good, because a lion only eats meat. An omnivore, our last one. Our omnivores are a type of consumer that eat both plants and animals. So, we as humans are omnivores. We eat both plants and meat. Can you think of another example of an omnivore, another consumer that eats both plants and animals? Pigs, very good. Pigs eat both plants and animals. All right, next we're going to play a little game. Erase your whiteboards, and I'm going to show a picture, and I want you to write down what type of consumer or producer, or if it's a producer, what type it is on your whiteboard. So right now, a horse. Is a horse a consumer or a producer? And what type of consumer? Okay, good. A horse is a herbivore. A horse only eats grass. All right, the next one, plants. The next one is a wolf. I want you to write on your whiteboard what type of consumer the wolf is. Very good. A carnivore. The wolf is a carnivore because it only eats meat. And our last one is the pig. What type of consumer would a pig be? An omnivore. Good. A pig eats both plants and animals. And our last one is a leaf. Producers, right? Producers make their own food. Alright, so now that we've gone through our PowerPoint and we've talked about the different characters, different organisms, different producers that are in a food chain in the flow of energy, I'm going to have you create your own food chain. So I have cut out some organisms for you. And I want you to create your own food chain using these organisms. And the arrows on the food chain, what do they represent?
The energy they get from eating the food.
Very good. Alright, so let's take a look at the food chain that you created. Can you tell me something about your food chain? Where does the producers get their energy from?
From the sun.
From the sun. Very good. And what type of consumer is a fox?
An omnivore.
Very good. An omnivore. A fox eats both plants and animals. I have one last question for you, and that is, how can you relate this information that we've learned, that you've created, this information to a real world situation? How can you relate it to a real world situation?
If you have a pet rabbit, you know what to feed it.
Good. So based off of the animals that you have, or even a rabbit, because rabbits only eat plants, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are herbivores, so if you have a pet rabbit, you have to know what to feed it. Very good. Very good. Thank you so much for listening to my lesson.